Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Thursday, starting to feel like a Friday a little bit today. For those of you that have been here before, welcome back. For those of you that it's your first time, welcome here. Where have you been all our lives? Let's use the chat box to introduce yourselves. Tell us something that's good this week. Tell us what's going on in your world. We're just going to give it a couple minutes to let everybody get in, and we will get started. All these familiar faces, look at them.
I know, it's so nice. I feel like we formed our own mini community inside of a community here with this. Where's everybody from? Well, yes, we know Phoenix, and I'm not even going to comment on how hot it is there. Where's everybody else from?
Arlington, Virginia.
Oh, sweet. Oh, Ruth, awesome. Good for you. That's great to hear.
Oh, that's so good to hear.
Yeah.
Chicagoland, one of my favorite American cities.
Hi, Pierre.
Pierre's here. Hello. Jennifer Prince from Toronto.
Oh.
Lana, always lots of our Calgary friends here. Always nice to see. Tallahassee, yes. Awesome. If you're just joining in, we're just introducing ourselves in the chat. Let us know something that's good that's going on this week. If there's anything good going on this week, I'm hoping that there is. We're going to give it one more minute and we will get started. Washington.
Oh, January. Awesome. Good for you.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, isn't that crazy? We're celebrating winning business that's still 7 months away. Oh.
Yes, take it. Well, we're 2 minutes past the hour. How are we looking?
I think we're good. We'll get some people joining us as we go. So
Yeah.
why don't we kick this off and get it started?
Okay, sounds great. Thanks to everyone for being here today. Welcome back. It's been a couple weeks since our last session. This is Clear Head, Strong Mind, an ILEA series all about mindset, performance, and harnessing the power of self. So we are joined today by, so Dustin Wessling, who you just heard, one of our ILEA International Board of Governors, Alexandra from our headquarters team, and of course, Angela Braun, who's our series facilitator, who will we will hear from in just a moment. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much, as always, to all of our amazing ILEA members, whatever chapter you're a part of. We are so grateful to have you as part of this community. Certainly gives me something to be enormously grateful for, the fact that this community is here. Without our members being involved and engaged and committed to themselves and to the industry, we really can't, as an association, create this kind of useful content. So big thank you to all of our members for choosing to invest in themselves and to invest in the industry with ILEA. Thank you also to everybody on the line today who is maybe not an ILEA member. We welcome you with open arms. So glad to have you here. This session and all of our summer recovery webinars are open to everyone, and we hope that you find them useful and helpful. And we would love to welcome you officially into our membership community whenever you are ready. It certainly feels like with Clear Head, Strong Mind, we've created this, and we were saying this before, created this sort of mini mastermind group. I really feel like we are an intimate group of people that have chosen to look inwards while also dealing with the challenges that are happening out there and in our businesses. I really believe that those of us who have chosen to be here and be a part of this series, either from the very beginning or have dropped in on topics that felt relevant to you, I think we're going to be farther ahead than we would have been once the industry reopens in an enormous way. So certainly know that we're all facing challenges in our own right, but I think we're doing good work by showing up here today together. So we made it to our second last session of the summer. As you know, as it says on the screen, Thursday, July 30th will be our last session of the summer. Dustin, Angela, and the team and I will get together over August and really take a look at what we created here. Probably ask you for some feedback, so get ready for that. We'd love to hear from you, and then we'll let you know what the fall looks like. So really looking forward to that. Registration opens for July 30th, early next week, so watch your inboxes. Speaking of webinars, so just wanted to say a big thank you, Alex, over to the next slide. Big thank you, as always, to Giants Enterprises, a longtime partner of ILEA, who stepped up in the spring and said, we would love to be a part of helping you create these powerful webinar series that are all about igniting the industry. So you probably saw in your inbox today, registration open for our next ILEA forum, which is a panel conversation all about large, from the viewpoint of large scale convention centers and CVBs. Next slide, Alex. We are getting together with a friend from Dubai, Calgary, and Miami. We're going to hear what they're up to in terms of reopening safely. And then we're also going to jump into what event profs of all kinds, whatever facet you work in, can do to support safe reopening of large convention centers so that we can all continue to reopen the industry together. So registration's open. Check out ileahub.com for that information. And then last but not least, before we get into today's topic, just wanted to talk about Site Week. So Site is, just next slide, Alex. Site is the association that represents incentive travel professionals. A number of ILEA, longtime ILEA members are also part of Site. So Dustin and I, on behalf of the organization, are leading an open format conversation during their annual Site Week, which is now virtual next week. Thursday morning, 10 a.m. Central, Dustin and I are leading a conversation about partnerships. So we would love to have you come so that we're not talking to ourselves, because we already know we value our partnership, but would love to hear how partnerships have either made this experience in the last 4 months maybe easier for you, or what you think the world and the industry can be doing differently, or a fresh way of looking at partnerships to ignite a powerful recovery. So come join us. Registration is open to members and non-members. It's no cost, so check it out at the Site website, and we hope to see you there. So we wanted to get some slides out of the way, because I always find that at the end, after we hear from Carol and then Angela, and we dig into some questions and conversation, the last thing anyone wants to do is look at slides. So, so with all of that said, I invite you to either keep yourself on screen, or you can turn off your video if you like. We are going to hear from our longtime friend, Carol Dunsmore. We're going to take a couple minutes to just take a big exhale. I've got some excited energy today for some reason. I had 3 cups of coffee and I did exercise this morning, so I'm feeling pretty good, but I think I need to take an exhale to really hear what Angela's got to say for us. So our longtime friend, Carol Dunsmore, a member of ILEA Phoenix, also owns the Next Great Event, based out of Phoenix, and is a certified yoga instructor. So if you've been here before, you know that Carol is going to take you out of what's going on in your inbox or in your head and really allow you to be centered and focused on this conversation here for yourself. So Carol, why don't we turn it over to you for a couple minutes?
Thanks, Lisa. And before I get started, just to kind of reiterate, actually the Site topic, talking about partnerships, just wanted to kind of give a shout out to a couple people. Thank you to Angela for your talk on vision, which prompted me to actually rewrite the vision statement for my company and update my website, which I haven't done in 5 years. And also a shout out to, I don't think he's on the call, but Kevin Kowalczyk from ILEA Northern California chapter. I hired him to do my website updates. So he and I partnered together on a lot of things. So yeah, just wanted to let you know, Angela, that the work we're doing here definitely has already directly impacted my life and business. So thank you for that. So the following excerpt that I'm going to share is adapted from a woman named Ali Leduc. She's a yoga teacher and energy body worker from Australia, and you can find her on the Exhale Yoga app. So find a comfortable position, close your eyes or take a soft, unfocused gaze, and bring awareness to your body. Observe your breath. Simply notice how you breathe. See in your mind's eye your breath flowing in and flowing out of your body. If your attention begins to wander, simply bring it back to your breath. On your inhales, focus on bringing energy, vitality, and life force into your body. And on your exhales, feel your body begin to release any stress, negativity, or fatigue. Allow it to drain out through your feet and let it go. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Stay with these deep inhales and deep exhales for about 10 long, sweet breaths. With each inhale, bring more and more energy into your body. Feel the subtle vibration of energy coursing through your body from your feet to your head and your head to your feet. Becoming aware of the warmth and tingling of every cell in your body. Now start to visualize all the positive energy you have accumulated in your body, and visualize all that energy shining as bright as the sun. Feel the lightness and peacefulness in your mind. Breathe in and breathe out. Feel the warmth and love within your heart. Allow this positive energy to fill you with unconditional love. Breathe in and breathe out. Feel the positive energy ground you to the earth. Feel grounded, centered, and supported. Breathe in and breathe out. Your whole body is now filled with positive energy. Allow the positive energy to flow freely through your body. With each breath, feel this energy growing stronger and stronger. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Simply focus your attention on your breath and feel the positive energy flowing freely. Feel a clarity and alertness within your mind, energy and vitality within your body, and positivity and peacefulness within your soul. Allow this positive energy to truly awaken your soul. Breathe in and breathe out. Return to your breath and these wonderful feelings whenever you feel in need of love, support, grounding, or positive energy. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Carol. Let everybody come back to the session. You're always welcome to be off video, but we always love seeing each other and knowing that we're part of something here together. So join us back here. Carol, as always, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story of implementing what, you know, the work you've done here back in your home and your business life. Always a pleasure to be doing this with you. So why don't we get into it? We've got a great conversation today. As always, it's my honor and pleasure to welcome back this series, our series facilitator, certified performance coach, Angela Braun. Angela is a longtime ILEA friend and former leader of ILEA, the ILEA Canada chair, is now a certified leadership and personal performance coach. Most of you, I think we've seen here before, but if you don't know Angela or haven't been here before, Ange has an extensive corporate background in the event and hospitality industry, specifically working for a corporation in the aviation side of the world, I think for over 20 years. And I always say this, but it's so true. Ange has the most beautiful blend, and it's a pretty unique blend of corporate strategic skill sets and acumen and empathy and love for humans. So really makes Ange just the most perfect certified coach, and we're delighted to be back here today for our second last session of the summer. Ange, welcome back, and over to you.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Dustin, for having me again. Thank you to all of you for showing up and coming to hang out with me on a Thursday afternoon and hang out with all of us. I actually really agree with Lisa's statement earlier. It's almost become a community within a community. So I get really excited when I get to come and hang out with all of you. And to Carol, Carol, it just makes a difference when you start us out. We really missed you last week. So thank you so much for coming and kicking this whole session off. I saw your website. It looks amazing. So congratulations, love. All right. So today we are going to be talking about how to harness your energy. We're going to be talking about why it matters to your personal and professional lives. And also we're going to talk about the correlation between physical well-being and happiness. Now, you guys know we talk about energy a lot, right? Like this entire series with the Clear Head, Strong Mind is really all about how to move into recovery from a powerful place versus a place of exhaustion. And the truth is, I've said this before a number of times, I'm gonna say it again, probably gonna say it in 2 weeks from now, but there's no high performance coach on the planet that will not talk about the importance of energy and the correlation of energy and high performance and high achievement. I actually have a book here. I'm just gonna pop it up here. It's probably backwards, so I'll read it to you. It's called The High Performance Habits. And this is from Brendan Bouchard. It's a great book if you want to check it out. But what was really interesting, Brendan is also a performance coach. And I think it's in chapter 1 or chapter 2. He basically says, as he talks about energy, if this is the only thing you take away from this book, then I will be happy, because it's so, so truly important. So I'm really glad that you guys are all here. So why are we talking about this? Like, why do I think it's so important? Because the truth is that you are your most important asset. You are your biggest investment. And this includes all of it, right? Like, it includes your mindset, it includes your heart, your personal why, your connection to something bigger than yourself. And also it includes like your physical well-being. There's a totality, there's a holisticness about this. And you guys are probably starting to see a cadence as we get on the call and we talk about this, as we start to work through these different things. You know, the truth is, we all do have a little bit more time on our hands. And it's not anything I think that anybody wants to have. It's sort of been imposed upon all of us, right? And in the absence of knowing what the future is going to look like quite yet, there is an opportunity as we go through Clear Head, Strong Mind, and we start talking about some of these things. And yes, I recognize they might come across as a little bit softer, but it's such a great opportunity for us to really like anchor in and to really protect our well-being and create really healthy, positive habits as we move into the future. So I want to thank you guys all for being here. So like, how do we define energy? You know, it's funny, I've said this before too, because I believe it to be true. But the reality is that time is fixed. Energy is variable. And so we can't change the fact that there's 24 hours in a day. And if any of you have been able to figure that out, please let me know, because I'd love to know how you do it. I have yet to figure it out. That is the truth. However, energy does flex. And when we protect our energy, the truth is we can actually get more done in less time. And so that's why energy is so important. We often look at it in the opposite way. We try to squeeze in more during the day. We just expect our energy is going to keep up with us, but that simply isn't the case. So the truth is as we kind of start to walk through some foundational pieces, what we're going to start to recognize is that it isn't a one or other thing. So it isn't about, I need to do this, or I can get more sleep. I need to finish this on my to-do list, or I can move. What we start to recognize is that when we protect our energy, it's simply an and thing. I'm going to do this and this other thing, because I recognize this other thing actually is contributing to my success. And if I can really harness the power of energy, then I can actually get more done in less time with more clarity, more focus, more energy, more happiness, and as a healthier human being. So here's an interesting study that I wanted to share with you guys. I personally found it kind of mind-blowing when I was taking this productivity course. And one of the things, his name is Michael Hyatt, one of the things that he was talking about is like this whole concept of productivity, right? And so how we often will push ourselves to an extreme. And I recognize this may not be the case for you now, but I'm pretty sure at some point in our lives, we've all experienced this. And basically what he had said is that, 50 hours, like anything sort of beyond 50 hours a week, you're actually not gaining more productivity. We think that we are, but we're not. And what's actually happening is it's going backwards. And so really, you're compromising, your brain power, you're compromising your well-being and all of those things. So what ends up happening is that we end up working harder and actually achieving less. And so that's really why there's that correlation between the energy, right? The other thing that I wanted to share with you is the reason why this is so important. And I don't know if any of you are going to not in agreement with me on this or not. But we have like this sort of anxiety and the stress, right, around all the things that we need to accomplish. And I find I've certainly experienced this myself, and I've certainly experienced this with clients as well. There's sort of like a guilt or like an anxiety. And so we feel guilt and anxiety when we are spending time with the people that we love because we feel like we should be doing more at work. Then on the flip side, when we're at work, then we feel guilt and anxiety for not doing the things that we know are really important to us. So what ends up happening is we just sort of feel in this constant state of guilt and anxiety. And then you just end up resenting everything that's going on in your life. And that ultimately isn't going to make you more happy, or is it going to make you healthy, or is it going to provide you that inner peace that's really important? So what we're going to talk about today is like sort of 7 foundational practices of energy. Now I got to tell you guys, nothing I'm going to share with you is going to be mind-blowing. Like, I totally get that. So it's not about the practices that I'm sharing with you, though I am going to share some pretty cool scientific data and research that might be of interest to you. That's not the intent here. Like, I'm going to say something and you're going to be like, no way, Angela, really sleep's important? Like, I get that. What I want you to do is, again, to really anchor in as we start to go through these foundational pieces about why this needs to become a non-negotiable, and how we need to get away from this concept of radical self-care and actually recognize it's a foundational practice and it actually contributes to our overall success. So that being said, the thing we're first going to talk about is sleep. Not a big surprise. And I'm not going to go too much into sleep here. We're not going to talk about, behavioral practice or sleep hygiene or anything of that sort. If you do have any challenges with sleep, I hear you. It's my nemesis. We have been arguing for years. So if any of you are on my mailing list, I am going to send out some really cool information around sleep when I had seen a sleep behavioral therapist. So look out for that if that is a challenge for you. But really what I wanted to share with you is actually some scientific data around it, because I know sleep's important, like we all know, right? But I recently took this really cool course called The Science of Wellbeing through Yale University. And, there's some pretty epic minds here, like PhD level Ivy League, schools that were doing this really cool scientific data and control groups and all of that kind of stuff. So I thought I would share with you some of the things that came out of some of this scientific data to see if this actually grounds into this concept of, yes, we need sleep, but why actually it's so important and what the data actually suggests. So there was a study done by Walker. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to test cognitive performance after sleep. And so what they did is they took a group of people. I'm going to read a little bit from here because I'm actually a little bit sleep deprived. We'll talk about that in a second. And so basically what they wanted to do is they wanted to teach people a cognitive task. And then they were going to do the training and testing. So they decided they were going to do the training and testing both after a long period of being awake, and they were also going to do the training and testing after people had woken up from at least 7 hours of sleep. And that was the caveat. They needed to have at least 7 hours of sleep, which is the recommended number of hours. So here's what they found. Yes, when we teach cognitive tasks, and yes, when we train to test, obviously over time we do get better. Like, that kind of goes without saying. But it was double the amount of cognitive ability after somebody had woken up from 7 hours of sleep. So basically what this suggests is that our brain actually, we get smarter. Like, sleep actually makes us smarter. Our cognitive ability improves. And so when I talk about being a little bit sleep deprived, I'm just sharing this with you. I love 8 hours sleep. Like, I really do actually need it. And being on this new sleep regime this week, and not getting 8 hours sleep, hitting like 5.5, 6 hours. And no, I did not have cocktails last night. I wish that was the reason. It is not. I can actually feel like the sharpness of my brain isn't there. Like, I have a bit of brain fog. I can feel that. And that's just after a couple of days of not having enough sleep. So the truth is that sleep is it's non-negotiable. It actually is going to make you happier, and it's going to make you smarter. True story. And actually, if you think about it, like in terms of making you happier, you guys know what I'm talking about. Anybody who's gone through a long period of lack of sleep, the way that you show up the next day doesn't, like, the smallest things seem like the biggest to-dos when we are sleep deprived. Like, we show up differently. We actually become nicer, happier people when we sleep too. So that's another great side effect of sleep. So sufficient sleep keeps us mentally sharp. It improves our ability to remember, learn, and grow, and it refreshes our emotional state, reduces stress, and recharges our bodies. So here's what Huffington Post had to say about lack of sleep or inadequate sleep. Inadequate sleep is defined by 5 hours. So in addition to being less happy after one night of bad sleep, we're hungrier, we're more likely to overeat, we're more likely to have an accident on the job, we're probably not looking or feeling our best, our immune system is compromised and we're more likely to get sick, and no joke, you actually lose brain tissue. So all that being said, we're not going to go on and on about sleep. Recognize, spend about 5 minutes here, get some sleep. It's foundational to your success, personally and professionally. The second foundation that I want to talk about is movement. And again, this is not like a weight loss webinar. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to talk about energy. And so I'm not going to talk about like what kind of exercise you should do. That's not my subject matter expertise anyway. What I want to share with you is some of the scientific data, because again, I just find this to be really interesting. So there was a study done by Babiak, and basically they were looking at whether exercise intervention, hold on a sec, I just lost my spot, whether exercise intervention could increase happiness in a population that was suffering from happiness deficits, namely people with depression. So they assigned people to basically 2 conditions for 16 weeks. And the first control group, they said, hey, guess what? We want you to work out or do some sort of physical activity 3 days a week for 30 minutes. And then the second group, they gave them an antidepressant. And they basically ran this control group over 16 weeks. And then after that, 10 weeks out of 16 weeks of the trial, they went back to measure people's happiness. And here's what they found. They found that 50% of the people who were taking the antidepressant reported the same level of happiness. 90% of the people who did the exercise control reported the same level of happiness. So the truth is, outside of actual, like this being good for your body, movement actually makes you happy. Like it straight up makes you happy. And it also actually helps your cognitive ability too. So it doesn't just strengthen your body, it actually strengthens your mind. Physical activity primes our brains to operate at a higher level. So again, this isn't about, a self-care practice, lose some weight. This is actually about how do we become healthy, happy, smart, and more confident. And all of this actually relates. The third thing I want to talk about is nutrition. Again, I'm not going to walk down the path of this too much. When I take a look at nutrition, I'm just walking through these foundational practices because we've got kind of a cool exercise that we would like you guys to take a look at the end of this to put this into practice. But when we take a look at nutrition, like straight up, I'm not going to tell you just eat fish and asparagus. You do you. So this is really about nutrition is, how we fuel our body and recognizing that even the smallest changes have a big correlation or a big impact on our energy levels. But what I also want to share here too is that there's something about breaking bread with people and the social connection that's equally important. So as we look at nutrition, just recognize there's a balance there. I follow the 80-20 rule, but straight up last Tuesday, or I guess a couple of days ago, I was out for wings and beer and it was amazing. So you get to decide what that balance looks like for you. The fourth thing I want to talk about is connection. So in case you haven't noticed, people have a tremendous impact on our energy level, right? So there are people around us that can totally bring us up, and there are straight up going to be energy vampires that can bring us down. And so as we take a look at energy holistically, as we look at how, it relates to our life holistically, I just want you to take a look at that and just be aware that people can give you energy, but they can also take it away. This one I actually really love because I think it's really undervalued, and it's really around like fun. It's around play. And so the older we get, the less that we do this, right? Like it's almost like taking away from like all the things that we need to do in life. There just simply isn't enough time for it. But the truth is, it's actually really important. And the reason why it's really important is because when we actually, deploy fun or we deploy play, whether it's through a hobby or what have you, there tends to be less of a deliverable attached to it. And so we're not looking for an end state. We're doing something for the sheer joy of doing something. And it turns out when we're in that state, our brains actually have time to like to breathe and to have a little bit of fun. And that's where creativity, innovation, and imagination comes from. She did a really cool blog post on this, and you guys are certainly welcome to check it out. And it's the importance of having hobbies when you're a leader. And it talks about all the high performers out there that swear by having a hobby and how important it is to their personal and professional development. So never think for a second that taking time out from work to do something that just feels fun, or to engage in a hobby that doesn't have a desirable end state that's tied to a professional goal is a waste of time, because it turns out it actually isn't. And then the sixth thing I want to talk about is reflection. Not a big surprise on Clear Head, Strong Mind that we'd be talking about reflection by any stretch. Reflection can be meditation, it can be journaling, it can be yoga, it can be prayer, it can be reading, it can be whatever it is that you want. But the entire intent of reflection is just to stop. That's what it is. And so you guys know, like before this pandemic hit, like we were in a hustle and grind type of environment. Everything was go, go, go. It was busyness, it was overwork, it was adrenal fatigue syndrome straight up. And the event industry was just like every other industry. Sometimes you guys maybe even more so because you have these crazy hours, but it was all about the hustle and grind. The truth is that stopping and reflecting is actually going to expedite where it is that you need to go. And we've talked about vision. We talked about vision in webinar number 2, where it is that we ultimately want to go. And then we talked about the difference between vision and strategy. Reflection, whether you do it from a business perspective, I call them clarity breaks in business. But on a personal level, reflection is really just about the stopping and the check-in. So it's about, how is this working for me? What's working well? What's not working well? How am I feeling? What's making me happy? What's not making me happy? And the reason why we want to do this and create some sort of space for it is because otherwise we're just going to run through life haphazardly, following the thing that we don't even know that we actually really want to follow in the first place. So that reflection is like taking a stop and looking at the how and doing the shift and pivot if it's required. And the last thing I want to share with you is the unplug. Now, the unplug is something that has, been talked a lot about, especially in the media, especially with mental health professionals, et cetera, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, when we were like glued to our TVs and we were, wanting to see what was going on in the world. And we were actually seeing, some depression and anxiety coming out from all of that. And so there was a lot around making sure that we were watching the news and we were being aware of what's happening in the world, but that we also took a break from it. And the truth is, the digital detox is like a thing now, right? Like, I don't know about you guys, but I literally go nowhere without my phone. Like, it is like, if I could like actually physically like tie it to my body in some way and it became an appendage, that would make my life a whole lot easier because it goes everywhere with me. But the truth is that unplugging or that digital detox, we have to do that if we want to do all of the other cool things, the foundational things that I was talking about, right? We got to make time and space for that. And so one of the things, that I'll share with you, and I learned this when I did my productivity course, is, just creating space on the front end and the back end of your day. And so for anybody who knows me, and some of you do for sure, you will know that if you text me after 9 o'clock at night, you will not hear from me. And it's not because I don't love you and I want to hear from you. It's because the truth is that I've put my phone to bed for the night. She's sitting on the counter. She needs a rest and I don't touch it. I don't want to look at it. I want to like create space at the end of my day for just me. And the truth is, I'm also not going to text you first thing in the morning. In fact, I don't pick up my phone. It does not come to bed with me. And I do not pick it up first thing in the morning for 2 reasons. A, I just need time and space from it. And B, straight up, I don't know that I feel like anyone else's life is more important than mine. And because I'm not a brain surgeon, I don't need to check it first thing in the morning. So basically what I'm saying is that I don't need to know what's going on in everybody's life first. I need to center and ground into my day first. And even just those little pieces on the front end and the back end of the day in terms of a digital detox will just feel so freeing. It felt really game changer for me. So something that you can take a look at. So really, when we take a look at all of these foundational practices, again, guys, like I know this isn't mind-blowing to you. Like I know that. I know like me telling you to sleep more isn't like something that you're like, no way, I just had like this crazy brain epiphany. What? Sleep? Like I get that. But what I want you to do, again, is like just take a look at it holistically and take a look at the correlation between energy and personal and professional success. And I know a lot of us, or I hope, had some pretty good feedback about the Be Do Have model that we did 2 weeks ago. But the truth is all of this foundational energy stuff that we're so worried is going to take away from our time actually gets us to where we want to go even faster. It actually just expedites it. So it's kind of cool, right? Like you actually get to take care of you. And through the process, you become happier, healthier, smarter, and more confident. And it's free, like pretty amazing. So next steps for you guys is Lisa will be sending out a mailer to you guys, usually Monday or Tuesday, I think it comes out from. And in that, if you're interested, you are not required to do this in any way, shape, or form. We're actually going to include an energy quiz. And so it's going to kind of walk through some of these foundational practices, and you can go ahead and take that quiz. And from there, I'm going to send you an energy planner. And this is something that was super helpful for me when I was taking my productivity course. And so you can actually start to plan out what your energy plan looks like and what you want that to look like. And for those of you who are looking at the Be Do Have model, it's a fantastic way, again, to start incorporating the here and now by living in the future and becoming the person you ultimately want to become today. So you're going to have access to all of that because we heard from you guys and we know that this kind of stuff and the things that we talk about, yeah, it feels good. Some of it might be like a light bulb moment here and there, but you really want to be able to put it into practice, and we've taken that very seriously. So we always create something for you to put into practice. My ask of you is always that if you choose to put something into practice, that you schedule some time to actually put some thought into it and then grab an accountability partner, a mastermind partner, and keep yourselves accountable to that. So that's kind of the end of today. Super glad to see you guys. And yeah, I want to know, like, does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any good suggestions or thoughts that they'd like to share with others that have been really helpful to them? And is there anything in here that you'd be comfortable sharing with the group that you'd be like, hey man, like I'm totally not going to negotiate on this. Like this is something that from here on out, like I get that it's like, you know, a foundational part of my success moving forward. So any of that, just let's chat.
So Ange, we have a question in the chat box here, but I thought I would ask you first, when we're talking about protecting our energy, what are some good practices in protecting your energy from other people, whether it be, you know, someone that is, you know, maybe working from home for the first time and their energy is being taken by their family, by their work. What are some good practices to make sure that you are protecting that? And maybe along that line as well, how do you recognize when your energy is being taken? What's some good indicators that you're draining too much energy in a certain thing or person?
Okay. Well, there's a couple of different questions and it could go a couple of different ways. So if I go off track, Dustin, just reel me in, okay? So the first thing that I would say is, yeah, I mean, we can protect our energy by the things that are within our circle of control. And when it comes to outside of our circle of control, that's where it can get definitely more challenging, right? Like we can ensure that we get enough sleep, we can eat an apple, that kind of thing. But any sort of toxic energy that's coming from elsewhere can be a bit more challenging. So the first thing I would say, and again, if I'm going off track, let me know, reel me in, is when you're looking at what you think might be toxicity from another person that you feel is draining your energy. And I think that's what you were asking. And then you were asking me how to protect energy. This has come up a couple of times and I've actually had this conversation with a couple of clients. So one of the first things that I always say to someone is, you know, what has your relationship been with this person over a period of time? And so what I mean by that is, has this been a toxic situation for like a year, 2 years, 3 years? Has this been a toxic or unpleasant situation over the last 4 months? And the reason why I'm asking that is because we are in an unusual situation. The pandemic has never happened before outside of the Spanish influenza, but that was 100 years ago. So the reality is that it's an unprecedented time. And we know that people are dealing with things differently. And people are processing emotion and grief and fear and anxiety and all of those things differently. And so there is an opportunity to have a little bit of empathy and a little bit of compassion, a little bit of patience within that space, and know that it isn't something that is going on forever. If there's a toxic environment that's been happening over years, and it's not specific to the pandemic, there is an opportunity to take a look at, especially if you want to protect your energy, how you're going to address that in the future. And whether you're going to spend less time with that person or whether you're going to straight up have a conversation, and it's all in the delivery. That's how I would take a look at toxicity as it stands now, as we're looking at like energy vampires. And the only reason why I say that now is because I do think the pandemic is a little bit different. And I think there's a little bit of empathy attached to that. But, you know, straight up, I don't and cannot be around energy vampires anymore. And it's just a boundary that I personally have in place for myself. And I recognize that the only way that I can be a great person and contribute to the world is to be a great person and contribute to the world is to protect my energy. So I think it really comes down to the delivery of that message.
So, and what does that conversation look like? So when you're, you know, I think it's easy to, maybe it's not easy, I actually shouldn't say that, but when you've established that there's something or someone in your life that is draining your energy, how do you start that conversation to express yourself? Can you maybe just give us a couple tips on what a conversation feels like? Because that seems like a really overwhelming conversation to have with somebody.
Yeah, for sure. A couple of different tips, and I'll give you guys a personal story. I'll give you the personal story and then I'll kind of walk you through why I did what I did. But, and this may not be like a crazy story, but it was a really hard conversation to have. When I decided to leave the corporate world and, you know, to start my business, my mom was really challenged with that. And the reason why I'm bringing up the story about my mom's really great, by the way, is because I can't really like lose my mom. You know what I mean? Like I can't really eradicate her from my life. That'd be a real challenge. And I wouldn't want to anyway, but she was really challenged with this. And so every single time we talked, she brought up like every worst case scenario that could possibly happen. Like I was going to be living on the street, y'all. Like this was not like everything possibly catastrophic was going to happen. And honestly, I couldn't take it anymore. Like I was like, I can't do this, right? Like it's draining my energy. It makes me feel bad. And I'm not even answering the phone anymore because it feels gross. So we had to have a conversation because I had decided that it probably wouldn't make sense for me to eradicate my mother from my life because I love her and she is really amazing. And so the conversation that we really had, for me, it was sort of like adopting the coaching model. And so I had asked her, like, what is it about this change in my life that is really concerning you? Like, what is it about this that is bringing up all of these emotions for you? And what it turned out is that where this was coming from was her worry and her concern for me. That's actually what was happening. And so in that, I'm like, okay, I get that. You're allowed to feel the way that you feel. Here's the thing. I have thought of everything that you've already said. You have to like respect me as like a grown human being. And I've actually addressed all of this. And hearing all of this isn't helping me. And I appreciate that you need to process. That's great. You need to find someone else to process it with. Because from here on out, this is off the table. And so that's just kind of how it's going to be. And that's how it was. And now she's my biggest supporter. Now that may not be the exact scenario, but what I want to walk you through is sometimes when people are toxic or there's sort of some negativity coming in, it's not always necessarily directed at you. It's about their own thoughts and emotions. And so they will sometimes internalize that to what they think would happen within their lives. And so when we just ask them, like, what is it about this that is like so scary or, you know, frightening or negative or alarming or whatever for you, it allows them to start to process it. And then you just lay down the boundaries of what's acceptable behavior and what's not acceptable. So I didn't tell my mom she was wrong. I didn't tell her she was bad. I heard what she had to say. And then I invited her to find someone else to chat about it with. Does that help, Dustin?
Yeah, that's great. Dustin and I are volleying back and forth. Thank you for hitting on such important notes around boundaries and projection and those kinds of things. So a great important conversation. So question came up as well about, you mentioned the language clarity breaks. So maybe our final question, unless something else comes up in the chat, could you just tell us a little bit about your approach to your clarity breaks. And then the question as well was, how can we integrate something like a reflective practice or a clarity break into like the workspace, like make it a part of the organization that we either own or work for? Just wanted to see your thoughts on clarity breaks.
Yeah, so Clarity Break is actually adopted from the entrepreneurial operating system. I really love it. I actually believe in it. I used to do it in corporate as well. And so basically a Clarity Break is like creating time within your schedule where you get to be visionary. So this is like your opportunity to not be tied to, say, a deliverable. So you get to decide what you want that visionary piece to look like. So it could be creative brainstorming. It could be, I don't know, maybe you want to take a look at like quarterly results, if you have like a scorecard or something like that. Maybe there's a project that you just kind of want to like birth and get it out of your brain and get it on paper or whatever the case is. So we don't need to put rules around what your clarity break should look like or what should be included in that. It's really around creating time in the schedule for it. I mean, I do it weekly, which might seem like a bit extreme, but I actually do it on like Fridays, right? So I've got a couple hour window where this is not tied to a deliverable. I'm not like trying to knock something off my to-do list. I am just literally giving myself space to like just dream, think, whatever the case is. But the point is it needs to be by yourself and it needs to be scheduled. There needs to be a cadence to it. And it's really about just creating space to be the visionary. So it has nothing to do with like operational readiness. So you should not be checking your emails. It has nothing to do with that. It's all about just creating space. And it's kind of like what we talked about, with that reflection is that, we're all clear that we got a vision that we're working towards. The strategy is the how. But we got to check in on the strategy as well. And so sometimes just creating space to kind of review things or to dream about things gives you a lot of opportunities to see things differently. So you're constantly moving towards what it is that you ultimately want to be or ultimately want to have.
Awesome. And so if a leader wants to support the integration of this into the way their teams approach their weeks, I guess just make it a part of, dedicate, as a leader to make it part of the culture of the organization or of the team that you lead, and offer them some thoughts on how to, start integrating those things. So I think when you first decide, I'm going to integrate something like a vision break or something into my week or into every other day, whatever it is, it's probably very easy to come back into old habits of, oh, well, I heard the email go off, or, oh, I heard my phone buzz, or, oh, there's this thing I forgot to do, or, oh, there's these 5 other meetings I'm a part of tomorrow that I haven't prepped for, so I'll actually only do 30 minutes instead of an hour. Like old habits, that's what keeps us going day to day, right? And so changing habits is hard, but yeah. So Karina just asked about integrating it into our team. So if we as leaders make it part of the culture and lead by example, I'm sure that adoption rate will be, especially now after going through what we're going through. I think creating space to think about things outside of operational readiness, as you say, is probably going to be quite welcomed, I would say.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, and you're bang on, Lisa, it comes through like leading by example first. So if an owner of a business is like, this is something that I'm adopting, and again, it doesn't have to be weekly, right? You get to decide what that cadence looks like, and sometimes it takes a little while to change, habits. Then you lead through example by creating the space for you in that moment. And then you can actually start to bring it into the team. And if you look at it, like when we take a look at like, say, like a Google culture or whatever the case is, WestJet used to have this too. I mean, WestJet had, and I hope still has a very playful, maybe not so much right now, but has a very playful environment. It's around play and having fun. There is a correlation between play and having fun and taking time out and innovation and creativity and inspiration, which then leads to growth and revenue and all of that good stuff. So there is a correlation between the two. And so, Corinne, I mean, it could be something as simple as adopting it for yourself, making sure that it feels really good for you, figuring out a cadence for you, and then sharing it with your leadership team and allowing them to decide what makes sense for them. And for them, it's about just taking a bit of time and whatever makes sense to just have a little bit of downtime. It's that and you got to just trust it, right? And I know that's a challenging thing to do, is to trust like that they're not going to be, checking Facebook or whatever the case is. But if we can get behind the why of what is so important about it, and we can also get to, the trusting of all being in alignment with the bigger picture and, wanting everyone to have that space for, innovation, creativity, inspiration, and even strategizing, then you're just going to have to trust that delivery is going to come through.
Awesome. Really fascinating conversation. And Ange, not to go back all the way back to tactics, but when you integrate clarity breaks, we just had a question come up. Do you integrate an hour? Is that how much you set aside?
Yeah, I mean, it's about an hour. So it depends on the schedule, to be honest. So I don't take clients Mondays and Fridays. I have a business model that might allow for that. That's not the same for everybody. I totally get that.
Yep.
And so Monday is my project management day, and Friday. And Friday is a little bit more of a space. So it just kind of depends. So sometimes it's just brainstorming. So it might just be an hour. I kind of dig post-it notes. So I might just actually start to throw out post-it notes, or I might write out a few things, or I might go back to my vision statement or whatever. So it kind of depends. I've got a bit of a flow there.
Great.
The hour is what I look for.
Awesome. That's great. Well, I had some great chatter, and I think people are taking away their own nuggets out of this, but I think we can wrap there. So, and I will offer you the opportunity to make any final statements or thoughts, and then I will wrap this up.
Cool. I was just looking at some of the courses. I see I have some other Michael Hyatt fans here. Like, is he?
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, so final thoughts. I mean, I guess my final thought is kind of what we've already talked about before, which is that radical self-care is not radical. It's actually about energy. It's about harnessing energy, and it's all about not being an or situation. It's about an and situation. And as we look towards the future, we've got one more webinar left, and that's going to be 2 weeks from now, and that's going to be all about habits. So the cadence that we were looking for, this Clear Head Strong Mind, is actually built like an actual coaching program, y'all. So it's facilitated and, mindset tools and techniques that I'm sharing with you through this sort of facilitation program. And so you can see, right, like we're talking about growth and fixed mindset. We're like getting clarity around that. We're talking about the why. We're talking about ultimately where we want to go. We're talking about the be, do, have model. We're talking about energy. And so next week, we're going to tie it all up and talk about habits. So all of these things that you learned, now we're going to talk about habits, good habits, bad habits, how to subconsciously change habits, the difference between habits, systems, goals, and triggers, so that you can actually start to put it into practice for the long term.
Awesome. Can't wait for that. And we, as you said, Angela, you designed a program for us here that took us through a really thoughtful and purposeful, build the foundation, and then we build building blocks on top of each of it. So now we all get to take August to go offline a little bit. Hopefully we're still producing ILEA webinars, but we will allow a pause here for Clear Head Strong Mind, and then come back and share with all of you the plan for the fall. So Angela, as always, thank you so much for all of your energy and heart. I know you think so intentionally about everything that you bring here, and I know you care so much about our community. You are a part of it, so thank you so much, as always. Carol has already left, but big thank you to Carol, as always, for allowing us to take a breath in the beginning. So many familiar names and faces. I feel like we're all friends now. I can't wait to see each other, maybe at ILEA Live next summer. Let's cross our fingers that that is enabled. If you want to be a part of ILEA Live this year, the awards, Esprit Awards, are taking place third week of August. Registration will open, and that's going to be an awesome opportunity to get together virtually and celebrate. But thank you so much to all of our members for being a part of the community and choosing to invest in yourselves and choosing to invest in the industry by being a part of ILEA. We can't do any of this without you, so huge thanks to you. If you're not an ILEA member and you've joined us here today, thank you so much for being here. On behalf of the Board of Governors, it's our pleasure to welcome you. Alex from our headquarters team, thanks for being here and keeping the show running forward. We will see you all on July 30th. Registration opens next week. We're going to make this one super useful and fun as always, and then we'll have a few surprises integrated as well. So come back, join us for the last session of the summer before we take a break in August, and we will see you all very soon.
Love you guys.
Awesome. Good job, Ange.
So, no Jen? Okay. All right.
Bye.